Welcome to Gruber Power Hour. I'm Erica.
I'm Pete Gruber. We're going to have some fun this morning and talk about some new technologies that are going into data centers. And this image behind us really illustrates, although it is a AI rendition, it's not quite accurate, but it gives you the general idea. We're going to have liquid cooling in data centers, and that's going to revolutionize and change everything. In fact, the company that prompted this topic for me, at least, was Vertiv.
Vertiv, okay.
Vertiv used to be Liebert, been around since 1960s, last century, and they were in two different technologies, clean power, critical power UPSs, and computer room AC units, cooling. Yeah, and for me, it was interesting because I'm now curious, how are these incumbents going to transition into these new technologies? Are they going to be able to adapt, you know? I mean,
We'll find out.
Yeah, we're not going to need these gigantic, 8 to 10 foot wide air handlers anymore in computer rooms eventually.
No, just flood them with Freon.
Yeah, it'll be completely different. So, but anyway, thanks to Vertiv, it spawned this topic, and what we did was a little bit of research here to update you what these data centers are going to look like in the future. With the adoption of GPUs, and we'll talk about what that is here in a moment, graphic processing units, the heat loads are now shifting quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's no longer a bunch of boards in large boxes full of cabinets that have fans blowing across them, and the heat, is in a broader base. We're now talking about much more centralized heat inside what's called a GPU chip, kind of like the PC chips that you have in your PCs. And a highly concentrated heat load that isn't going to be efficiently cooled with fans or moving air across it anymore. One of the ways that they improved the cooling capacity of chips was by mounting heat sinks on it. And that's that louvered thing that sits on top of your CPU chip, and it increases the surface area of that little chip that's getting super hot.
When we started talking about this topic, all I could think of, because we're in Arizona, is like in the middle of August, standing outside with a fan blowing on me.
Yeah.
That's not effective.
Not at all, no. So they have vendors like NVIDIA, which most people are familiar with now because it is now one of the largest companies on the planet. And NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, they make GPUs, graphic processing units, and they create an enormous amount of heat. So there was an article here that was published by Vertiv, and it was extremely technical, and I knew that our readers were going to fall asleep if we followed that topic. So we went out to AI and said, give us the scaled-down version, and it did a pretty good job. So that's what we're going to be sharing with you, some ideas from AI and GPUs. So they say, while it takes many years to plan, design, build, and commission a data center, with AI rapidly evolving, these new data centers could be obsolete before they're even built.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this method of cooling definitely plays into that because your traditional data centers typically have raised floor, access floor, which is used as a plenum. We talked about that in one of the earlier podcasts, moving air underneath the floor to vent tiles that are now distributing the air to cabinets that are drawing from the front, exhausting out the rear, and the cycle continues and, keeps things cool in the data centers.
Yeah, most of the data centers or the GPUs taxed are like cryptocurrency, data mining, video game processing, things along that line.
And my prediction is where this is all heading is humans are not going to be invited into data centers anymore.
We won't be able to survive in them.
In the 70s, when I got into the computer business, data centers, or computer rooms as they called them back then, had humans in them, and they were called operators, computer operators.
Yep.
And the stuff that they did in the computer room was they would swap out disk drives.
Yep.
They were about the size of large cake tins, and they had handles on them.
Yeah.
They would go over to something that looked like a washing machine about that size, open the door, put in a new platter, and then shut it, and then take that over to a storage area. They also routinely did backups, and you had large 7-foot-tall tape drives
Oh my gosh.
that
Yeah.
would spin the tapes, and that's how the backups were performed.
haven't
And of
heard
course,
tape
they,
drive in a long
yeah, they had operators that had rolling carts inside the computer room, and they would collect the tapes that had been completed and put them into storage
Yeah.
as a backup. So there was a lot of human activity in a computer room at one point.
Yeah.
So
Now you just hear when you walk into it. It's like
won't
white
need-
noise.
we won't need humans anymore with this liquid cooling. And let's get into some of that. So
Yeah.
what are the temperatures that these chips are running at, a graphic processing unit? Well, 30C is the ideal temperature
Yeah.
for those, which turns out to be 85 Fahrenheit.
Wasn't it 185?
30C, 30 Celsius.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And under load, they run hot.
Yeah.
65C, now centigrade, to 85 Celsius, which is 185 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's hot.
The design goal for a GPU is actually 105C, and that one shocked me because 100 centigrade is the boiling point of water.
Right.
That's 212 degrees. That's scalding. That will burn. You know.
Yeah.
That's a
You
that's
can
a
burn
dangerous.
the flesh off your bone. No, we can't share that space.
Right. So the cooling methods, traditional ones, are no longer efficient enough.
Before
So-
they're even built?
Yeah, so we now have liquid cooling. And but let's go into what is a GPU, and then
Yeah.
we'll tell you how to cool this thing.
Graphic processing unit.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about the world of video games and how the video gaming industry actually has moved into data centers. And the analogy that AI gave us, which I think is quite on track here, they say, imagine you're painting a massive wall. You could do it with one brush, with one human going back and forth methodically, and that's essentially how regular computer processors or CPUs
That
work.
sounds like old school dial up.
Yeah. Now, they do it really fast, granted, but it's still that, basic function at a time. What the graphic processing unit allows is to handle tons of these tasks at once. So it's like having thousands of humans painting that wall at
Yeah,
the same time.
That is a great analogy.
Yeah. So when GPUs were first created, they had one job: to make video games look awesome. All right?
Yeah, shoot the duck.
Yeah. So every time you saw an explosion in the Call of Duty, or you watched sunlight filtering through the trees in Minecraft,
Yeah.
that's your GPU working its magic. It's calculating thousands and sometimes millions of tiny colored pixels on your screen simultaneously. But here's where it gets interesting, they say. About 15 years ago, some clever scientists realized something. The same technology that makes video game graphics look amazing could revolutionize artificial intelligence.
Uh-oh.
So they said that training AI is a lot like painting that wall. You need to do countless simple calculations
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy to think that you go from like a horse and buggy to like a Ferrari.
yeah, exactly. So the GPU processor would take weeks rather than hours if it didn't have that capability or
That's
that parallel
crazy.
or multitasking capability. Now, according to some GP experts, the need for GPUs in AI cannot be overstated. Without GPUs, we simply wouldn't have ChatGPT,
Nope.
Stable Diffusion, or any of the other AI tools that are making headlines today. Grok.
Can you imagine you all
Wow.
have to like think to work again?
Yeah, yeah. So they are the unsung heroes of the AI revolution.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and that's why they say GPUs have become some of the most valuable computer chips in the world. Companies are scrambling to get their hands on them. It's like there's a gold rush. Instead of gold, everyone's hunting for these specialized chips.
Yep.
And the company's benefiting now. We've got NVIDIA, of course, which is constantly in the news. They have been launched into one of the largest companies in the world with their GPU, production.
Yeah.
And
Not cheap.
the standard NVIDIA GPU, by the way, is $35,000 for one chip.
What?
Yep. And then just within the last couple of weeks, NVIDIA announced a different type of GPU chip for robots.
But I'm like, I watch robots putting it together. It's not even humans. It takes like no time at all. Why is it 35 grand?
Well, maybe it's like the drug companies. They've got a monopoly, right?
How do GPUs stay in shape?
I don't know.
They do CUDA lunges.
Oh, okay. Good one. So companies that make these chips, AMD, NVIDIA, Intel is another one. They have become some of the most valuable companies in the world as a result because of the heavy demand.
Wow.
They are like the pickaxes of the AI gold rush. Everybody needs them, and they're not cheap.
Well, so AI is hot. It's not trendy hot, but it's hot. Yeah. So these GPUs are crunching numbers, and they run at temperatures that could fry an egg.
Totally.
That was crazy to think about. Literally fry an egg.
So this migration from CPUs to GPUs, according to AI, said it's like discovering that your kid's crayons could somehow help cure cancer.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
So they say the next time you're playing your favorite video game, remember that graphics card is making your games look beautiful as part of the same tech that helped develop new medicines, drive autonomous vehicles, and push the boundaries of artificial intelligence.
I wonder what benefits we're going to have outside of, better processing. What benefits can come from GPU and AI, if making it to where the processing is faster, but where do you go from there?
Yeah, how do you evolve?
Yeah, where do you go from that?
We're on the brink of superintelligence.
Yeah.
Where the machines are smarter than we are.
Right.
And of course, humans innovate. We create. We're inventors, right? Just wait until machines are doing that on an exponential level.
Yeah.
We're going to have Thomas Alva Edison, for example, on steroids.
Right.
Creating new stuff constantly.
Oh my gosh. I wonder where Tesla's going to go. They have their own robots. Maybe they're creating new robotic cars.
I wonder what the prevailing mood is within Tesla, the culture and the psychology, recognizing that their Optimus robots could potentially replace the humans creating them.
Yeah,
that has to be disconcerting.
It is crazy.
So getting into cooling now, and this is where we get back to data centers, the world that Gruber Power Services lives in. We need to become familiar with a new acronym, Technology Cooling System, TCS. TCS is what they're calling this liquid cooling. So they say, picture a supercomputer that generates as much heat as 100 ovens running full blast. And that's what we're dealing with modern AI data. With the modern AI data centers.
Well, we would need something in Arizona, especially that takes that heat and distributes it somewhere else, because God forbid you live in an industrial area and all of that heat is coming into your home. Oh, no.
Well, and then we have the issue of global warming.
Yeah.
Which that definitely would have an effect on as well.
Yeah.
So they say, this is AI again. Let's start with a simple truth. AI is hot. It's not trendy hot, but literally hot. Those GPUs, like you pointed out, are hot enough to fry an egg.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned, too, that there's a place in the world where they're actually scavenging this heat and putting it to good use.
Yes. So Sweden, like some other companies, have been exploring innovative uses of heat generated by computers, and particularly GPUs, to heat homes. So this approach is relevant, obviously, given the rising energy costs. So how they do it is they're taking the waste, as it's called, or the exchangers, and they're processing it into homes and through their heating elements and through their heating systems. And they upgraded all of their electrical gridding also in Sweden to allow, if you would, the additional power to push through.
So instead of just wasting it,
Yeah,
they're scavenging
converting
it
it.
and converting it into something useful. Brilliant.
Waste not, want not.
Yeah. So they say enter liquid cooling instead of fans blowing air. Imagine specialized coolant flowing directly over the computer chips.
I've seen something similar with like small PC and it being submerged, which I find fascinating.
Or the old sci-fi movies where they had aliens in tanks that were surrounded by fluid, right? Well, they say that this liquid now that is on these chips absorbs heat about 3,500 times more efficiently than air. And like you pointed out, it's like the difference between cooling with a fan versus jumping into a pool.
Yeah.
Far more efficient.
Yeah, it creates a more efficient energy system that also reduces the overall carbon footprint.
So here's where we get back again into this existential threats for the companies that are making data center cooling systems. In the future, we're no longer going to be moving air.
Right.
It's too inefficient. It takes too long to get there.
It does.
That chip is frying by the time the air reaches it, right? Because of the extreme temperatures. So what we're seeing now is a complete revolution in cooling technologies. The question is going to be, can the incumbents pivot and adapt? And it's the same existential crisis that the auto manufacturers are facing moving to electric vehicles.
Even Microsoft had like a submarine and their data center was submerged under the ocean floor for the cooling purpose to see if that would work.
That was outside the UK, exactly, yes, in the ocean. So a lot of companies are experimenting, trying to find more efficient ways to do cooling, and they're talking about submerging the entire servers in dielectric fluid, which is a liquid that won't conduct electricity. It has to, otherwise you're going to be moving metal around and doing electroplating and sending signals to the wrong places.
Yeah, no, that's not effective.
So this has to be a dielectric fluid, non-conductive, and the servers will now literally operate while swimming in coolant.
Gosh, I can't imagine this. I can't wait to see it.
Yep.
It's coming.
So they say that, remember the old car radiators? Well, they're not old. They still use them in ICE vehicles. But data centers are using similar principles, but at a massive scale.
Okay.
So this heated liquid now, this dielectric, that is running or bathing the servers, and it's going to be in vats and tanks, no longer cabinets, It's going to travel at that point, once it's heated, through a complex series of pipes and cooling towers. And I've got a picture of that for you here.
While you're bringing that picture up, these are some fun. So we got Edward Dibble. Good morning. The business will be for how it will supply the enormous energy these chips will need. Alaska will be fine. Like engines, at first air-cooled the liquid, not a new concept. Not a new concept, but it's... You're taking something old and bringing it into the new world necessities.
Thank you for all the inputs, by the way. Keep them coming.
Appreciate that.
So do we have that picture up, Jesse? It's up on my screen here.
Just kidding.
Are we still live? Okay, because we had the intro screen. Yeah, so there we go. We've got the TCS architecture. And what you still need, of course, is a way to cool this superheated liquid now that's coming off the servers. And there still will be two paths for this chilled water, as they call it, in data centers. Off to the left, you have your air-cooled chillers. These are outside, and you run air across the fluid in order to lower the temperature.
Makes sense.
And then that chilled water goes into a couple of loops now. There's going to be the TCS loop, which is the technology cooling system or the bathing of chips directly. And you're going to have air handlers down below, which are the indoor air handlers on access floor that are cooling the air in that data center. Eventually, that may go away completely because if you've taken humans out of the data center and all you have is server arrays that are in vats and tanks, then the whole data center concept changes completely. No longer will people be able to walk through the data center and see the
they'll have to
blinking
have
lights.
like a submarine that's freon resistant.
Yeah. And think about this.
Your electric car will turn into something fun.
And for certain types of service, you may have to have scuba divers, right?
Ooh,
But they'll have
that
to have
sounds fun.
thermal suits that they can. It's exciting to think about all the
Hazmat
possibilities
submarines
here.
or submerging suits.
Yeah. All right. So they do talk a lot about all this heat that they are scavenging and getting rid of. And definitely like in Sweden, repurposing that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. Their cold climates are more energy infrastructure friendly because of their cold weather. And it's just a byproduct to be able to put in the energy system, which I can't believe how we haven't already dealt with that. We haven't already done that. I don't know why we haven't.
So, Erica, a question for you. Why don't data centers go on vacation?
Because I have no idea. I was going to say they're covered in liquid, but they're not yet.
They're afraid of downtime.
Oh, geez. I love it. Oh, what did the Pixel say to the GPU?
What, Erica?
You complete me.
Oh, okay. Instagram, Edward Dibble is with us. He says, motorcycles are an example.
Yeah, robots will do that job. You're right.
Yeah, and then, again, robots will do that job. Yeah.
Thank you for your dibbled input.
So here's one. My GPU got so hot, it started mining for its own coolant.
So why did the GPU break up with the CPU?
Why?
Because it found someone who could handle its core values.
Ah, okay.
I love these.
Why did the GPU refuse to go to the party?
Why?
It was afraid of overheating the dance floor.
Oh, too hot for trot.
All right, let's see if I have any other images here. My screen is, there we go. All right.
Yeah,
so I'm
big
going
chiller
to show
unit.
you what one of these chillers looks like that is outside a building, a commercial building that has a large data center. And bear with me. All right, can you get that one up, Jesse?
Ooh, that's freaking huge.
Yeah.
Super huge.
And you can see the size of the pipes in order to move sufficient water, because it doesn't. These chillers don't cool down to freezing levels. It's usually in the neighborhood of 45 to 55 degrees.
Yeah.
Cooler than what's going on inside the data center. So in order to get any cooling, you have to have an enormous amount of water or volume, coolant. And this is a typical chiller that sits outside a commercial building.
So huge.
That runs air across some slats. And you can see those dark areas there. If you could see them a little closer, they would be like V-shaped slats. And then as the air moves across, huge fans, by the way, either the top or the bottom, that are going to move ambient air across those chiller slats, cooling the water and dropping it 10, 20, 30 degrees or so.
Yeah. So how much real estate would be freed up now? That entire unit would be obsolete, wouldn't it?
Well, the chillers remain. That's the interesting part of this. The air handlers inside the data centers, where they're cooling the space inside, eventually will no longer be necessary.
Okay.
Except for the office areas, perhaps. But the actual servers that are doing the processing with the GPUs are going to be bathed in coolant fluid.
So they would probably be submerged into
Tanks.
an enclosure?
Yes,
Okay.
large tanks. It will be
Maybe we need to start building tanks.
It will be an environment that will be uninhabitable for humans. Instagram, Edward says, question is, who is financing all this and for what purpose? Well,
Companies saving money?
the demand for artificial intelligence is almost unprecedented. And it has its tentacles into virtually everything that's going on the planet now, from healthcare, research, military, business, private business, all of that, because
Yeah.
Chat GPT is used virtually everywhere nowadays.
Have you been to a virtual doctor yet?
No.
Not on a computer. I mean, you walk into a medical facility, you stand in this like machine. It does a 360 scan around you, tells your heart rate, your blood, blah, blah, blah. It does everything.
How cool is
It
that?
takes everything, and then your prognoses and diagnoses pop up on the screen.
Right.
And it gives you, life choices that you need to change.
Instead of the nurse practitioner, which comes over and puts a
Does the
strap
cuff.
around your arm,
Yeah.
then the heart, and then
We're gonna hug
draws
your
some
arm.
blood and, all of that. Yeah, won't it be interesting when machines are doing all of that, and probably more accurately and more efficiently?
It really takes the people and their WebMD research away.
Yeah.
You're no longer coming into the doctor going, I don't feel good. I have a cold. I have this. I have that. It just tells you everything that's wrong with you. It's really, really, I didn't like it. I'm not going back.
Well, actually, Edward is continuing his question. He says, will it be a monopoly of dictating a new era of submitting humankind? Well, Edward,
Interesting question.
everything is changing rapidly. You can imagine some of the changes that are heading our way, but I'm sure that we'll be surprised all along the way as well.
I think it'll continue to evolve into mind-blowing changes for generations to come.
All right, I'm going to bring up another image here. And here's the traditional data center now. And like the heading says, an enormous amount of concentrated heat is generated, which needs to be eliminated. Now, the traditional data center is large sections of 24-inch by 24-inch access floor panels, vent tiles, which you can see right in the front there, and then the cabinets placed in various places around that data center. This one still hasn't been completed yet because there aren't many data centers that operate with this sparse activity. There's heavy demand for data centers. But the red thing by Erica's head is actually a halon fire suppression tank. And that is, instead of a sprinkler system, which picture this in a computer room, you have all these cabinets being fed by 208 volts with CPUs running inside and fans and electronics buzzing around and hard drives.
Yeah.
And you have a fire alarm and you have a sprinkler system that goes off and sprays water over all that equipment.
Oh my God, millions of dollars.
So that's
down
the
the drain.
reason that they used to use halon until they realized that it was opening up the ozone layer. And then it became banned. But halon used to be a large part of computer rooms and data centers, and its function in life
Don't cow farts do the same thing?
that's methane.
Oh, okay, never mind.
That's the opposite. You can actually heat with that.
That's great. We should transfer it to heating.
Now you got a Chevy Chase movie in my head
Oh,
about
do it.
lighting the methane. Dumb and Dumber?
I love Dumb and Dumber. That's exactly it.
He's sitting there entertaining the friends of his girlfriend, right? It's a dream, of course, right? And everybody was fascinated by him lighting some methane.
Yep.
But anyway, so halon reduces the oxygen in a data center to 7%. It's
Okay.
enough for humans to get out of the, out of the data center, but not enough or still enough for them to breathe and be able to
Okay.
function. You're not going to be able to exercise in there with 7%
Well,
oxygen.
I wouldn't presume so. It'd be enough to crawl out.
So this is what's going away, folks. Not today, not next year, but in short order as liquid cooling takes over.
Well, Gemma Magneto. Say that. G Magneto. Okay. I'm not in a good spot right now, but this is interesting, and I will prepare for a next session like this one. Oh, good. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I'm sorry you're not in a good spot. I don't know if that means emotionally, physically, mentally, or you're driving, but...
Well, if it's a connectivity issue, these podcasts are actually placed on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
So look up
Watch 'em
Gruber
later.
Power Services, and that's what a lot of people end up doing.
Type into YouTube, Google Power Hour.
We've got another image here, and we're going to talk about CRAC units,
Give me
which
that
is,
crack.
again, being replaced. Easy, Erica. So the CRAC units, Computer Room AC Units, is what the acronym stands for, feeds the access floor plenum in this case, pumping cool air to the various places. And again, this is what's going to eventually go away. So enjoy it while it lasts. An actual crack unit looks
You don't
like
get that
this.
crack for long, guys.
That's right.
Get it while you can.
And these are made in two varieties, either upflow or downflow. Downflow pumps the cool air into the raised floor plenum. Upflow is used if you don't have an access floor. And then the cool air exits out the top. The return air is usually in the front or the back of this unit, and it goes by filters or through filters, cleaning the air.
I saw that at the hospital that we toured. That was pretty cool.
Did you? Okay. All right. So my GPU is so hot, it makes jalapenos look like popsicles.
I like that one. Let's see. I feel like this one's kind of stupid. How did the GPU propose?
How, Erica?
With an 8K resolution diamond ring.
Okay. You know, I was collecting some of these through AI as well.
Yeah.
And for a while there, I thought, these are way too technical. People aren't going to get these.
Right.
So I said, dumb it down, make it non-techy. And then I started getting some better ones.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine are too techy.
Yeah, well, they get that way. You have to tell AI. AI is a nerd. Remember that.
I know. So why did the gamer bring a ladder to the computer lab?
Why?
Because the GPU was overclocked.
Okay. Right.
Techie one.
That's a term from the last century. You could actually speed up the clock rate on your CPU and make it faster. It would be a bit more unstable, but it was a popular way to get better performance. And, of course, it would run hotter, too. And sometimes you burn up your CPU chip. So
It lied.
it's from the last century. All right. Do you have any other one-liners
I think maybe I did. Why was the GPU sad? Because they had too many frames to render, but no one to share them with.
Okay. Well, we're coming to the end of our half-hour Gruber Power Services podcast. We hope you enjoy these.
I hope you had a very Merry Christmas.
Yeah, and have a great New Year's as we go into next week. Yeah.
I'm Erica.
I'm Pete. Be safe.
Next time.